He's the one that's easiest to pretend to be.
Yeah, because all you just go around is pretending like you're just slicing people. But seriously, he's a shitty X-Man. Uh,
Yeah, I knew a kid who obsessed with Wolverine as a kid.
Storm.
so hello and welcome to tonight's BS Buster. It's a fun cast, so we're talking tonight. We're all talking
Unconventionals.
unconventional RPGs. So, what do I mean by unconventional? I mean RPGs that don't fit the normal mold that people ascribe to RPGs. Now, if we were talking 20, 30 years ago, we would be talking RPGs like tabletop games, which were the core essence of what RPGs came from. JRPGs, Western RPGs, as we know them, all of them derive from tabletop games. Even like what is widely considered to be one of the first PC conventional RPGs, Ultima. That game, like the very first Ultima game, is filled with pop culture references of the late 70s. Like you can find a lightsaber, a space shuttle. You could tell what Richard Garriott was exposed to from that game. Uh, but with that being said, before we go any further, let's have everyone introduce themselves. We'll begin with the lady first, then go on to the two gentlemen, and then I'll introduce myself, and we'll get into it after the cut. Boom! Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, this is Joe Riley, myself, the Gaming Mage. Welcome you to the BS Busters Midweek Podcast. And it's about time we get into some different RPGs.
That is correct.
And I was trying to be friendly with that word, too.
All right. Kenoshi?
This is Kenoshi Abominito. Glad to be here on another one of. Glad to be here on another one of the BS Busters.
All right.
And this is being done from Video Game Editorials.
The worst ever.
I'm not currently in the mood today because I was in the middle of some argument prior to this podcast.
All right. Well, cleanse your mind. What's the name of the song? Do any way you want to. Do it till you're satisfied. Relax your mind. It's time to deal with a little bit of. This is a fun cast, and we're gonna talk a little bit about bullshit. So, with that being said,
last.
Yes, it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters, and well, let's get to it. So, I guess this should begin with unconventional RPGs. So, what was the last RPG you guys played that wasn't specifically a JRPG or Western RPG? Or if you've never played a Western RPG or a JRPG, have you played anything that's RPG-like? And you can include Pokemon, because I guess by the broadest of terms, you could call it unconventional RPG.
Same for Xenoblade and Fire Emblem.
Xenoblade's more of a JRPG with the evolution of the active time battle system. Because instead of what they used to do back in the day with
turn-based.
Yeah, turn-based. It's on a timer, which actually makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, if Final Fantasy hadn't gone the way of a turd being flushed down a toilet, you could see the combat system in Xenoblade Chronicles X, Xenoblade Chronicles 1, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You could see that being the evolution of turn-based combat. Like, if you want to keep turn-based combat relative and still having time be an aspect of what's going on, it works. But unfortunately, Final Fantasy has gone the way of a turd being flushed down the toilet, so what are you going to do?
I mean, the gameplay for Final Fantasy 12 was the closest thing to that.
That's pushing it because that's kind of a different realm of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, the Final Fantasies before Hironobu Sakaguchi and his team and The main people who made the Final Fantasies up to 10, and they left. Like the core tenets of Final Fantasy that identified a Final Fantasy game was each Final Fantasy game was a new story with certain tropes that were shared amongst all of them. So all of them had magic and had like fire 1, fire 2, fire 3, or fire Aga, stuff like that. Like they had certain tropes that were the same, but the story was different, the setting was different, all that type of stuff. It wasn't until you got Hironobu Sakaguchi and his team left, and the people that would later branch off and become Monolith Soft branched off, that it started to go down the shitter because they didn't have the talent that they had to make the games before. And Final Fantasy XII was made by the guy who made Ogre Battle, Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics. As a matter of fact, Final Fantasy XII technically isn't even a Final Fantasy game. It's a Final Fantasy Tactics game. Final Fantasy Tactics is part of like a quadrilogy. Final Fantasy XII is part of a quadrilogy. There's Final Fantasy Tactics, Advance 2. Here, let me look up the other game, because there's another game in that series. It was a PlayStation only game, and it didn't sell all that well because it was really weird. But here, let me. I don't want to. There we go. Let's see here. No, stop. Shit. So basically, it's Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Final Fantasy Tactics A2, and then there's let's see, Vandal Hearts. Not Vandal Hearts. Here, let me. Shit. Sorry,
This is gonna take a while.
It was Vagrant Story. There you go. Vagrant Story. All of those games are set in the same world of Ivalice. They all share similar plots and all that type of stuff, and a lot of the same stuff that's going on. And that's kind of like that. You know, it's kind of like how the Paper Mario series, all of it takes place in a lot of the same universe and everything like that. You know.
Yeah.
Or the mainline Mario games, and that's kind of like the thing that happens in
In 12?
Yeah, in 12. It's a Final Fantasy 12. It's the reason why I don't really consider Final Fantasy 12 to be a Final Fantasy game, because it doesn't really share a lot of the DNA of Final Fantasy, of the main line. Like the vast bulk of the Final Fantasy games kind of don't do it. It's the reason why, I mean, like, Final Fantasy games don't typically get sequels. And you've noticed that most of the Final Fantasy games that have had sequels, the sequels have been shit, because Final Fantasy, just the way it's built, it's not really designed to have sequels. You know what I mean? Like, you tell that story, and now it's time for another story in another world, in another universe. You know. Now, Dragon Quest, you can have sequels in Dragon Quest, because Dragon Quest, I mean, even though you tell a different story, there's a lot of shared instances. You know what I mean?
It's a legacy, right?
Well, I mean, they're shared instances. I'll give an example of what I mean. Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are all part of one series. That's all one series set in the same two worlds. Okay? So, chronologically speaking, the way you're supposed to really play that series is you play Dragon Quest 3. That's the first game. Then you play Dragon Quest 1. Then you play Dragon Quest 2. All three of those games tell one continuous story. Dragon Quest 3 is the origin story of Loto, aka Erdrick, aka Roto, depending on which translation you get. Then Dragon Quest 1 is the descendant. What happened to the descendant of Loto? And Tantagel and stuff like that. And then Dragon Quest 2 tells of the descendants of that guy, that character from the first game. So it's like there's one continuous story, and then Dragon Quest 4 is and 4 and 5 are set in their own world, and then Dragon Quest in a world that's connected, and then Dragon Quest 6 is is its own separate story. But all of them have a lot of the same tropes, a lot of the same magics, a lot of the same systems, and you learn in Dragon Quest 8 that it's a series of connected universes. So I mean, there's a reason for why there's a lot of connected shit in that game. Whereas you play Final Fantasy, I mean, aside from certain things like the magics being the same and a lot of job classes, each world is vastly different. And that's just the way it was built, because then you can tell a different story every time, which is kind of cool. I mean, at least to me, but that's neither here nor there. So we're talking unconventional RPGs. So what have you guys played recently, or like I know one of you guys played Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Yeah, I would say.
No, go ahead, Kenoshi.
I would say Borderlands 3. It has a lot of RPG elements, but it's not.
Oh yeah.
It's more loot based.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I like Borderlands. My only flaw with Borderlands is just the gameplay. Is that the gameplay mechanics haven't really changed that much over the years. Like, you're still like if you have a sniper rifle and you shoot someone from across a map in the head, enemies will swarm your ass, immediately find out where you are, and it's like that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I do like in Borderlands 3 that it seems like the AI is a little more aware than they were in the second.
Yeah, but it was like that in the other games, like Borderlands the pre-sequel, Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2. It was like there were things that they're like Pandora. It's a hostile environment. Everything's trying to kill you. Then why is it that NPC monsters are just walking past bandits and not attacking them? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. That's my problem with the game too.
That's weird as F.
Yeah. I mean, because and here's the thing. This is a problem that like D&D solved a while ago. Like, the Drow are badasses in the Underdark, but they got to be afraid. They got to be aware of hook horrors and Dwagar and demons and illithids, just like everybody else. Like, these shits will kill our asses too. And yet Borderlands, hey man, the Skagzilla, not gonna attack me. I'm a bandit. It's not gonna attack me. It's like, what the that makes no sense. That doesn't even make logic sense. That doesn't make sense from a logic standpoint. I know I'm putting too much onus on the game to actually make logical sense. But when you create an RPG, you're basically creating a world where it's an alternate reality.
There has to be some rules to it.
Yeah, it's an alternate reality. There has to be some other stuff going on,
Yeah.
But whatever. It is what it is. So Pinky's alternate world that he went with, his unconventional RPG is Pokemon and Final Fantasy 12. So that's cool. Kenoshi went with Borderlands 3. And I'm down with that.
And I haven't told you mine yet because if anything, I was waiting for the podcast to talk about it.
No, I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
Go ahead, knock it out.
Adventure Bar Story is a game where you do not gain EXP at all during battle. You gain skill points based on elements, but no EXP whatsoever. The only thing you gain from battles are basically items that you use to cook up your cook up your EXP and your cash.
You know what that sounds like? That
What?
sounds like Gourmet Sentai Baiaru, which is a game set in the Chowaniki universe, where basically, like, you know how, like, normally in beat 'em ups you heal between each level? In Gourmet Sentai Baiaru, you don't. You defeat enemies, they drop ingredients, and in between levels, you can cook these ingredients into dishes and then eat them. But here's the thing: each character has their own distinct tastes. So, like, you have to actually find things that they like, so that'll give them stat boosts and restore their health and stuff like that. It's kind of fucked up, really. It's one of those that's kind of weird.
Well, with Venture Bar Story, it's the only way you get EXP to level up your character, and the biggest way that you're earning money in the game in the first place. Especially since every time you want to start a new day, you have to open up shop and sell off your food that you crafted yourself, which is supposed to be your EXP. You have to sell it to the customers so you can get some money.
That sounds rough.
Oh, wait until it gets to the contests where you have to make a powerful dish that is better than the competitions.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing with that. I mean, like, I was gonna do it. I was gonna talk about a game that was kind of like
I must have overdid you.
that was going on. I guess I'll go with one. Okay, so here's an unconventional RPG. One of my favorite 6th gen RPGs, and no, it's not Final Fantasy 12 or Final Fantasy 10 or Rogue Galaxy. Although Rogue Galaxy is a really good RPG. It's the thing about Rogue Galaxy is basically like it's the spiritual successor to Dark Cloud 1 and 2. But basically, it basically takes everything level 5 learned from those 2 games, and then takes what shouldn't have been there or wasn't done well, and does it better, or takes out what was just a waste of time and just makes it into a better game. But that's not my favorite 6th gen unconventional RPG, because Dark Cloud is basically an action RPG. It's very easily defined. I'm going with the card battle RPG the best card battle RPG of all time. I'm going with Bait and Katos. Bait and Katos.
Yeah, it's still a weird card game. I mean, it's still a weird RPG that uses card games.
Yeah. Like most RPGs, you level up, you find better weapons. You keep the same weapons from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. The way you attack enemies in Bait and Katos is you basically build decks for each character. And those decks can then be used in order to... those decks
for
can
offense
be
and
used
defense,
for offense and defense, and layering up and doing combos and stuff like that. And how do you do combos? Well, this game's like poker, so your combos can be pairs, triples, quads, flushes, straight flushes, reverse flushes, that type of thing. But the cool thing about Bait and Katos is that you can also use the cards in order to create new and unusual things. What I mean by this is, let's say you have a power helmet, which is a defensive weapon in the game, a defensive item in the game you can use to block attacks. Well, if you take a power helmet, a fire burst 1, which is like a low-level fire spell for your magic users, and then some rice and water, you can create you can create steamed rice and use that as a restorative. And if you keep rice just raw rice in your deck, it'll eventually sprout. And if you let it stay long enough, it'll turn into sake, which can restore health And also, like if you get frozen, you can drink that and it'll unfreeze you. Or if you get
That must be
poisoned, you
some
can
good
drink it. Yeah, if you get poisoned, you can drink it and it'll cure your poison. I mean, this game was just really ahead of the curve at the time, and like in the real in for those people who like metagaming, each character had their own deck. So you could really get down, and not every character could share cards. So you really had to like craft decks depending on what bosses you were facing, the type of enemies you were facing. You really had to get down into the nitty gritty of the metagame. And we're joined by Dragon Sword. Dragon Sword, say hello.
Hello.
All right.
He's on mute.
All right. You have to unmute yourself, Dragon Sword, or maybe I can unmute you. Here, let me check. No, you're not muted. I mean, I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself, Dragon Sword. Dragon Sword, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Dragon Sword. Okay, fine then. I guess when you get a chance. So yeah, Baten Kaitos is my favorite unconventional RPG. They made a sequel called Baten Kaitos, a prequel called Baten Kaitos Origins, which sucked.
You're putting it lightly, aren't you?
No, it was bad. Because in the original Baten Kaitos, you could have 4 playable characters on screen at any given time. And out of a cast of let me name them out. Callus, Shella, Gibari, Liud, Savina, Mazzuti. So that's 6 characters, and you could have 4 of them at any given time on the screen fighting. And aside from Shella and Mazzuti, who shared a lot of the same cards because they both were Magic users, almost every other character had almost completely custom decks. Because Gibari used paddles to fight, Liud used horns and trumpets that were like guns in the game. Callus used swords. Like Callus was the most balanced character because his swords could be used defensively and offensively. Which was a really neat mechanic. But basically, it was just a very well-made game. And surprisingly deep. Oh, God. So, with that being said, any other unconventional RPGs you guys want to talk about before we move on to the next topic? Yes, no, maybe so.
Undertale?
Ugh.
I mean, it is an RPG. I mean, it is unconventional because like you can avoid attacks by like there's like a mini game every time you want to avoid attacks. So it's almost like Paper Mario in that regard.
Bullet Hades.
Yeah. And I have to say that final boss music is really good in that game.
Not as good as Megalobania.
Let me put this way.
Debatable.
I haven't even played Undertale all that much. Like I've downloaded the demo and I played a little bit of that. But even I was able to play that. I really enjoyed that. That final boss music. As a matter of fact, it's in my my Google Play music list when I'm working it. When I'm at work, I'll just listen to that while I'm typing or putting out orders, stuff like that. So, but that's just me. So, any others? Jewel, any others? Nothing? Okay, then I guess we'll keep it moving. So, I guess since Dragon can't be with us, I guess we can move on to a little bit of news. So basically, Microsoft showed their hand at the Game Awards, and they showed off
The Xbox
Series X, or as I'm calling it from now on, the Sex box. It's Series X. It's the sex box. The sex box.
Yeah, they showed off their mini ITX PC build.
Yeah, it's basically just a mini gaming PC. So now they aren't selling consoles anymore. It's just a little gaming PC.
Yeah.
So my question is, if you already have a gaming PC, why the fuck would you need a mini gaming PC just to play Xbox games? If you already have a gaming PC that runs Windows, you already technically have an Xbox.
Pretty much at this point.
I mean, why? Dragon, your thoughts?
Well, how do I put this? So pretty much, the name series should pretty much give a warning. So like I'm assuming, because I watched King Thrash's video on this.
Not just the title, but also the shape of it. It looks like a boombox.
Well, I was gonna say it looks like a mini PC. It looks like exactly what it is. It's a mini gaming PC. That's all it is. All these things are just mini gaming PCs. And I'm calling it the sex box from now on. If the Xbox One was the X Bone, this is the sex box.
To come out of Xbox Series S and Series.
So I mean, you take out the Re's, you add the SE and the X. It's the Xbox sex box. Yeah.
I mean, if they release a lower price, lower power version of this, like an Xbox Series S.
They're gonna do that. They're gonna call it. It's like the X. It's like the S, where it doesn't have an optical drive. It's just a streaming box. It's gonna be called the sexes box. I mean, Microsoft, I wish they'd just throw in the towel and just stop wasting people's time and energy with this bullshit. Just say, look, listen, okay, we're not going to keep on losing money on our console, so we're just going to sell you a series of mini gaming PCs, because that's what this is. This is a mini gaming PC. This is not a console, all right?
Then there won't be, Series X exclusive games, or, Series X Windows 10 game, if you know what I mean.
Let me put it this way. There might be games you can only play on the Series X console, but they're also coming to PC, so they're not really exclusive. Kind of like now. I mean, let me put it this way. If you're one of those people who bought an Xbox for the exclusives, you can take that
You're
and
SOL.
shove it up your ass. Well, considering Microsoft's already shoved their Xbox up your ass, it's already there, so it's...
Yeah, a lot of their games are going to, well, not a lot, but with the studios they own, Hellblade is coming to Switch and all that. It could.
Yeah. I mean, here's the way I look at it. Okay, if you have a gaming PC, you have no reason to own an Xbox. This generation or next generation. Zero.
I think this is going to be their Dreamcast, I guess you could say.
Here's the thing. Microsoft, here's the thing. The Xbox division is trash, but Microsoft has so much money on other shit. They have a virtual monopoly with Windows. They have so many patents that are used by other applications. Like Android uses Windows patents, Steam uses Windows patents, Microsoft patents. That it's Microsoft, the thing about Sega is Sega made a series of bad decisions in terms of technology when they were making their systems. But the thing is that Sega also
They also got a monopoly on the subject.
mean, considering that this is kind of like the One X, like 2.0, they might not even sell well.
Well, I mean, the thing is like the thing you have to realize about the thing you have to realize about Microsoft is the Xbox division. I mean, like here's the thing. I haven't seen any personal data that has shown that continue talking about it. I got to take this phone call real quick. Hello?
Hey, it's me. I don't know what happened.
What are you talking about? What?
Huh?
What are you talking about? What?
Who is this?
You called me.
Who is this?
It's me. You called me.
Yes, I did.
Well, what is it? You called me.
Oh my God, man, I'm sorry. I thought it was somebody else. Bye.
Damn.
And this would be the moment that people would say that they should throw in the towel like Sega did. Though then again, Microsoft has their hands in plenty of cookie jars.
Well, the thing is, Microsoft has fuck you money, so
I said they got their hands in many cookie jars, which would include Steam, of all things. Though, though if anything, it at least says that somehow they are not giving up and are doing this. It makes me wonder, are they really gonna try to chug along, even though they basically are burning more money trying to keep this up than anything else?
well, here's what I'm going to say about Microsoft, okay? And I know some people are going to get mad, you Xbox fanboys, because they're everywhere. So let me explain this, okay? Here's what people need to understand, okay? Microsoft has not made money on the Xbox division. They didn't make money in the first generation. They didn't make money on the 360. They didn't make money on the Xbox One. Don't believe. Oh, it turned profit. No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
I was about to say that the only time they've probably made money is with one game, I think.
What? Minecraft?
No, Halo 2, or get the Xbox.
Halo 2 was gonna make money, but then the Red Ring of Death thing happened, so no. They had to replace all those broken ass consoles. Yes, I did my evil laugh.
Yeah, and of course they didn't help themselves anymore when they let Sony do a nasty video talk of their own about what they think of a certain service of Xboxes.
Well, here's the thing. Microsoft shot themselves in the ass.
I know, but
anyone here ever seen that movie Liar Liar?
Oh
I heard
God!
about it. I haven't seen it.
Well, there's a scene in that movie where Jim Carrey is trying to get out of this court case because his son made a wish that prevents him from lying, but he's a lawyer, and that kind of goes parts and parcel with the job. So he goes into the bathroom and he kicks his own ass, like he's beating the shit out of himself. And this guy walks in, he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Can't you see I'm kicking my own ass?" Like that's basically what Microsoft did with the Xbox One reveal. Remember that with Don Matrick? Like,
yeah, I was trying to be polite
like, what
because
if people don't want to always be online? Well, we have a device for people like that. It's called the Xbox 360. Like literally. The worst thing you could say. That's
the kind of line that Jim Carrey shouted out when he was kicking his own rear end.
Yeah, that's like Nintendo. That's like Nintendo saying, "Well, I don't really like I don't really like the way that the Switch's software library looks right now. I'd much prefer, past generation of Nintendo consoles. And Nintendo's CEO says, you know what, we have a device for people like that. It's called our old consoles, bitch. like that's
If Nintendo ever said something like that, people would be running to grab that topic like a fireball.
And you know what? If the CEO said some shit like that and the Switch was selling poorly after that, I would say they deserve that, because you know what? You don't say something like that to your customer base, because that's just fucking dumb. All right? That's like going with your wife and she's like, "Hey, you're coming up light in the in contributing to the household last year. Come on, man, you got to get together." Well, why don't you go out in the street and find somebody else? Maybe she will.
That's the kind of line that breaks up relationships.
I mean, you just don't say shit like that. And, there's a reason, like, when Don Matrick said that shit, I was like, yeah, his ass is going to be fired. And I'll be damned. Within 3 months, he was shit canned out of there. Okay? He was done.
Well, he did take a golden parachute.
Oh yeah. Well, then he went to where'd he go? Zynga Games. He went over to Zynga Games, ran that into the ground, and then they shit canned his ass out of there.
That's how I feel about Phil Harrison. Everywhere he goes.
Phil Harrison, yeah, you know best. Except you didn't pay the test.
The thing about these people is that they get paid this huge sum of money in spite of them not doing their job, because Xbox Division never.
They seem to fall upwards.
Xbox Division never made money. It's never made money. It still is not profitable. And the only reason that they've started getting money back from their parent from getting money in order for them to do shit is because Phil Spencer has basically been going out of his way to basically. They're not saying this out loud. They're not saying this in public, but you can see the writing on the wall. They're basically positioning the Xbox from being a console-only brand to being the xCloud
service
and stream. They're turning
Xbox Game Pass. Yep.
Yeah, they're turning it into a service and an ecosystem. And if you want to play their games, if you have a Windows PC, they're transitioning it to be on Windows and not just being a console, because they can't compete as a console. I mean, you could argue and say they've never really competed as a console, because even with the 360, when they were throwing money left and right, like a dude who got a windfall and went to a strip show and was making it rain on these third-party developers, they still weren't really competing.
I was about to say, trying to win a race with a model with an old racer versus the newest model in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. I mean,
probably Godspeed to the ones that think this is going to be lasting long.
Well, no, I think the brand, I think the Xbox brand will last a long time, but I think Xbox is a conventional homemade console. I think this is the last hurrah for them.
Dreamcast, essentially.
Yeah, this is going to be because they're trying to, because look, listen, Microsoft has not made, the weakness of the Xbox has been the hardware, right? Because here's the thing, okay? The Xbox One used a Blu-ray player. So basically, every time they sold an Xbox One, with all of that expensive tech, they had to give a cut of whatever profit they made to Sony and the technological conglomerate that holds the rights to Blu-ray. So, so literally, they were making more money off the Xbox One S, even though that sold abysmally, than the original Xbox. Because let's say they made a small profit. Let's say they made $15 off of every Xbox One original Xbox that sold. But guess what? Because it had a Blu-ray player in it, they had to give maybe $5-10 to the Blu-ray
Sony?
concern that own. Well, it's not just Sony. Like Philips has some skin in the game. Sony, Panasonic, like it's a whole bunch of technological concerns that have a right to that technology because they all put money into creating it. But you get what I'm saying. It's like it's kind of like this, okay? Let's say like I don't have a pizza oven at any of my businesses, like a wood-fired pizza oven, but let's say I offered pizza at my place, but instead of me making it in the
In-house.
kitchen in house, I'm basically just ordering them from the pizzeria next door. Even if they give me a good deal, that's still money coming out of my bottom line. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, like if you make $10, you're basically giving about $4 to $6 to the people that you're getting the pizza from.
And that's what happened with Microsoft. That's why Microsoft got fucked. I mean, I know people are gonna be like, oh, how could you say that? I was at Microsoft. That's what happened. Microsoft is not in a good
position to be in the physical market.
Yeah, so that's why they're moving. They're going to leverage what they do have, which is xCloud and their streaming and games.
Yeah.
Xbox Game Pass. Because
Though, if anything, that makes me wonder one thing: what can they offer when they have no physical presence left?
The games. They can offer games. Yeah.
It'll be like double A or single A most of the time because it's through. I'm assuming it's through like Game Pass, and they can't.
Yeah, I think a lot of those games. I think a lot of those games are going to be through Game Pass, and like some of the. I think the single A and double A games will be through Game Pass. I think what Microsoft is going to do is this. I think they'll maybe 3 or 4 AAA games a year. Or they'll release 3 or 4 AAA games a year, and those AAA games will probably be like, they'll be on, like, you'll have to go through them, and they won't be on Game Pass for like a year, maybe a year and a half, and then those will go to Game Pass as well. I think for the single A and double A games, those will be on Game Pass anyway, and xCloud and stuff like that. And that makes good business sense for them because here's the thing, with Game Pass, you're spending $5, $10 a month for Game Pass. That's $120 a year. Okay, if you get it for the yearly thing and not per month, it's like $100 or whatever. That's still more than one game. So if you get Game Pass, you're spending more than if you just bought one game from them. So, I mean, they're still getting money. And it's better, like, businesses want to see that continuous transaction cash infusion model. They don't like seeing a little bit here, drips and drabs here and there. So, it is good. I mean, $5 is good value for a game. I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed of. So, but that's just me. I know some people are going to disagree because people always disagree. People always got some shit to say. So, anyone else? Anyone? I mean, you've heard my stance on it. Anyone have any counterpoints they want to make?
I mean, I'm not so sure if they're gonna make like any more like AAA. Just looking at the Gears 5 sales.
No. I said they'll probably release 3 to 4 per year of AAA games, but those aren't gonna go immediately to Game Pass because they want to make money off of them. So they'll be like, okay, this is gonna be, you'll have to pay $60 or whatever for it. But then after a year and a half, like maybe those games will go to Game Pass as well. You know what I mean? So they'll release AAA games. It just like a lot of their games are going to go to Game Pass because that's what they've already been doing.
Well, I think their Xbox is just gonna be like their surface market gaming.
Yeah, you don't want to buy a gaming PC, you can get the Xbox. There you go. And if you don't want to get the Xbox, you can get xCloud, which is basically it's basically Google Stadia, but done, but it works.
You actually get to use the games that you own rather than renting a platform and then buying the privilege to play those games.
Yeah, xCloud was just bad.
You mean Google Stadia?
Yeah, Google Stadia was just bad. Like Google
Yeah.
Stadia is basically Google's Xbox One, where they basically the guy who was showing that off, he basically pulled a Don Matrick, where the more you explain what this product is, the more you make people not want to buy it. You know. It's like, dude, you're not helping your cause. You make me not want to own this, you know? Cuz the idea behind Stadia sounds really good. You basically can stream games to all your devices that you have on this service. So, let's say I'm playing that are like PC based or part of the opt into the service. So, let's say I'm playing Destiny 2. I can play Destiny 2 at home. I can play it on my smartphone when I go to the bathroom. I can play it, at my local cafe. But the problem is that the infrastructure isn't there, and Google didn't do anything to make it easier. Like, they would have done better just keeping it 720p, 60 frames per second. They aim for a lower HD thing because then you don't have to use as much bandwidth across the board. And then just the sheer arrogance of Google to be like, well, internet service providers will work with you in order to increase your bandwidth cap. I'm like, motherfucker, no, they won't. They'll charge you an arm and a goddamn leg, bitch. I mean, it's just how stupid they think. It's the arrogance that gets me. But that's just me. Anyone have any other topics they want to bring up?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Talk about how there essentially is no overarching standards when it comes to these award shows.
Oh yeah. I was talking with one of my employees yesterday, and she was talking about she watched the VGAs, and she was like, yeah, like I'm a gamer, and she is a gamer. Like she's Caucasian, and she's got tats like all on her forearms. And when I first saw him, like I couldn't look closely at him, and I was like, oh shit. But then like one day, like she actually showed him off, and they're like all video game shit. Like one side she's got like Metroid tattoos. She has a friggin' Metroid on her left bicep. And she's got Zelda shit on her right arm. I'm like, God damn, you're my type of gamer. And she's like, I was watching the VGAs, and I was like, oh man, that's cool. She's like, there is no consistency. There's no standard rubric for how they. No. I mean, basically, it would be the equivalent of someone giving you, if you go into a class and you asking them, how do you grade your papers? And they're like, oh, it's just however I fucking feel. It's like there's no set standard or anything. It's terrifying.
Does anybody please Sekiro 1?
I mean, I played a little bit of it. It's not a bad game. It's just the thing that bothers me about the game. The thing that bothers me about the VGAs is just there's no. Like, okay, like they had games as RPG of the year that aren't RPGs. Like Kingdom Hearts is not an RPG. It's never been an RPG. It's not even an unconventional RPG. It's not an RPG. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know how old you are, Dragon, but when I was a kid, we used to rent video games, and you go into rental places, and they'd have games that weren't RPGs in the RPG section. It's like, yeah, Legend of Zelda's in the RPG section, but Legend of Zelda's not an RPG.
Yeah.
Especially in the SNES section, because I know RPGs, okay? Like, I have many, listen, there are very few things which there are very few things in which I can claim to be somewhat of an expert in, okay? You want me to tell you about how, generational demographics can tell you how people are going to vote. That's my political science background. If you want me to tell you a way how to basically deal with homelessness long term in an area, that's my sociology background coming in. I can help you with that. If you want me, but I'm an amateur in those fields when you compare to how many years I've been playing and studying RPGs. Okay, because I've been playing RPGs since I was like 4 years old. Okay. And I'm 33 now, so that's 29 years. So if someone is more of an expert on RPG, especially like video game RPGs than me, I bow down to the master. But I'm pretty up there, okay? And I'll tell you right now, Kingdom Hearts ain't no fucking RPG. But they had it in best RPG category, even though it's not an RPG at all by any stretch of the imagination. Never been an RPG, never will be an RPG, but they call it an RPG. Why?
I don't know. They don't have any standards in what an RPG is, or what an action game is. It's like, isn't it? I figure gaming's been around long enough for people to decide on this stuff.
And I know there's a lot of hybridization. I know a lot of games. I know by technicality, you could say, well, technically, any game that has turn-based combat and characters with stats that you can raise through doing activities in game is an RPG. So therefore, FIFA, Madden, NBA 2K, WWE 2K, those games are technically RPGs, and so you have to have a stricter definition because it's too broad, and too many things that aren't really RPGs are part of that mantle. If you go by that ultra broad, by a broader definition, you have to make it stricter. Okay, I understand that, but I mean, there's shit where it's like, that's not an RPG. They did that last year too. They're like, oh, this is an RPG. That's not an RPG. Best game with the best sound. They gave it to Death Stranding. How the fuck? That game doesn't even have a soundtrack. It has soundtrack like Breath of the Wild has soundtrack, which is an ambient atmospheric soundtrack, but it's not like sweeping orchestral scores, which is what you think when you think, great soundtrack.
When music does show up, it's usually copyright music.
I mean, I don't know about that. I'm just saying that normally when someone thinks this is great music, like by normal standards, you think, okay, it's orchestrated or it has a great soundtrack that's well choreographed with the music. For example, right? Like, I mean, I could play right now any of John Williams' scores and you guys would be like, oh shit, like I could start the Superman March. Everyone's like, oh shit, Superman March, Or I could start the start of Star Wars, John Williams score. Oh shit, it's Star Wars, and those are like great orchestral sounds. You get none of that here. Or I could play, or if you want to go more pop culture-y, I could play some more what were at the time modern pop culture for their time, like the theme for the Pink Panther, which was jazz from Henry Mancini. And that's very iconic, and or the start of James Bond with the guitar riff. I mean, like, those are orchestral scores. Atmospheric sound should not be good sound unless it's a horror game. Then it kind of makes sense, but I wouldn't give it to fucking Death Stranding. I mean, like I said, the VGAs this year were a big circle jerk for Hideo Kojima and Jeff Keighley, but mostly for Hideo Kojima.
Actually, it's a big circle jerk to Magic the Gathering and D&D.
No, I'm gonna say
With all the game commercials that have been popping up.
Well, no, they probably paid for they probably sponsored it because they wanted the thing. But really, with the amount of Death Stranding nominations and the fact that Hideo Kojima was also on the board choosing the fucking games that were gonna be nominated, I'm sorry, that is. I mean, the VGAs are bullshit anyway, but this is especially egregious. If you
Well, it's a good thing it only won 2 awards.
It didn't win Game of the Year, so that goes that goes to Sekiro.
You know, like here's the thing. I get where you're coming from. And I get that 2019 was a year, like 2019 is the year of, okay, we know that Microsoft and Sony are gearing up for their next console. So a lot of games that were supposed to come out this year are being pushed back to come out next year for those 2 consoles. I get it, okay? I understand what's going on. But here's my thing. And I know that this year has been kind of dry in terms of, eventful games, because I like a lot of the big games that came out this year. I'm not really that enthused about. Like, I didn't give a shit about Fire Emblem Fate of Three Houses. I'm like, I went to a friend's house. I played about an hour of it. I was like, it's okay, but I'm not like, I don't have to have this game. I can understand this year being kind of underwhelming for gamers because they're waiting for the new hardware. I understand that, but seriously. I mean, they would have done better doing game of the decade, just like, because it's the close of 2020. It's the close of 2019 going into 2020. It's the end of the decade. Why not do best game of the decade instead of the game of the year? Because game of the year, I mean,
It's small, isn't it?
I wouldn't even put Sekiro as game of the year. I mean, I'm sorry, I wouldn't. Because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I think game of the year, I think of a game that if you only had a certain amount of money, you only had enough money to buy one game, and it had to be a game that you knew you could play for an entire year. If that's the only game you could get, you could just play that one game. Sekiro is not that game. I'm sorry. It is not that game.
I would have voted Smash Bros. Personally.
Yeah, Smash Brothers is a better quality because there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of gameplay you can get out of Smash Brothers.
I mean, there's a lot of quality in that game, and there's
a lot of characters to play with.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of quality. There's a lot of different game modes. There's a lot of shit. A lot of replayability. Sekiro, like once you play that game once you play that game once, then you play it again and get the 2 alternate endings. You can do that in about 3 months, and the rest of the year you just. It's
a 2-round game.
Well, 3. Because you beat the game once, and then there's 2 alternate endings. One you can get right at the beginning of the game, and one that's like you make a choice about 2/3 of the way through in the game that gives you in a completely alternate route to the end game. So there's 3 playthroughs in that game, and that's it. I mean,
yeah.
How long was the game?
What?
How long was Sekiro?
I mean, from people that I know who have really done all 3 of those runs, they've done it in a month, but they're really good at the game. I'm thinking for Joe Blow, average gamer, maybe 3 months, maybe 1 run a month. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not like. I mean, here's the thing. Just by my criterion, when someone says something is game of the year, I'm thinking from when I was a kid and games were even more expensive than they are now, and your parents would be like, you can get one game. And that was that one game you had for that year. That one new game you had, and you played that one game. You played it until you mastered it.
Yeah.
Is Sekiro a game that you could only play that one game for an entire year?
For an entire year.
No, it's not. It's not this is the one game I played for the entire year type of game. I'm sorry. I know people are going to get mad because they're going to be like, oh, you're just being a fanboy. No, listen, okay? I like Nintendo games, but Nintendo hasn't really released a lot of games this year that I've been like, I'm a gaga for either.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they've been lacking in the home console quality, like recently, or
what? Well, I'm just not really like some of their bigger games this year. Just haven't really like I said, Fire Emblem didn't really do anything for me. I don't really give a shit about Pokemon right now. So it's and
well, there's Astro. What about Astro Chain?
Yeah, Astral Chain I enjoyed, but that's a Platinum game. And Platinum, like, here's the thing. I like Platinum games, but Platinum games are very niche. Okay? Like, even if I enjoy a Platinum
It's
game,
Wonderful 101 niche, isn't it?
It's not to that level. But the thing about Platinum games is this. Platinum games are a very distinct flavor. Okay? It's kind of like if you had a pickle juice icy. Okay, that's a very distinct thing to like. You know what I mean? Like, I would not recommend that for everybody. You understand what I'm saying? So
It's a very specific taste that you have to get into,
so
right?
even though I enjoy Astral Chain, I would not say it's game of the year. Like, I enjoy Wonderful 101. I wouldn't say everyone needs to play that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, like Mario games, Kirby games, some of the older Final Fantasy games that are like more baseline, I would say yes. Everyone should be able to enjoy those games. But like Astral Chain, if someone were to come to me and say, I tried to play Astral Chain, I didn't enjoy it, well, it's not for everyone. It's not everyone's taste. But a game of the year game should be a game that anyone could enjoy, that anyone could get into. And Sekiro is not that. So why the fuck would you, you know? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I understand what's going on. I know what's going on. I know that I know it's a popularity contest. I know that they're just trying to get views, but it just turned into a big circle jerk for
Death Stranding.
Yeah, for Hideo Kojima and Death Stranding. And I'm like, here's the thing. Look, I understand Hideo Kojima is, I know they're trying to help their friends out. I know all that shit, but I don't care, right? That's not my job. Like, my job is not to make sure their shit goes up. My job, like, once I buy the game, I'm done. You know what I mean?
The only thing that a customer is supposed to do is buy the game.
Yeah. Like, what people don't understand, like, I get tired of gamers who are like, well, we got to support this game. No, look, listen. I bought the game. That's the end of my responsibility. Okay? If the developers can't explain their game, if the person who made the fucking console can't elucidate why you should own this console, then, look, I did my job. I'm the consumer. I bought the shit. You got my money. You got to do something with it. That's it. That's the end of my, like, okay? So, I mean, you know, like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why people don't understand that. You know, I mean, I know that, you know, it's not general knowledge and not everyone's going to have the same opinions about everything, and I'm okay with that, but I'm just kind of like, I'm not getting it. You know, I'm not understanding why people aren't understanding this. I also, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of that game, so I'm done. Anyone have any other concepts anything else they want to say before we move on to the next topic?
Oh yes, I do want to mention that a lot of people are upset that there was no reveal for the 5th Fire Pass character in the Video Game Awards when they were expecting one like last year.
And here's what I'm gonna say to those who are upset by it: why should Nintendo show off one of their hottest IPs at the fucking Game Awards? That's just one big circle jerk for Hideo Kojima and Death Stranding. Why? When they can have their own thing and have the platform to themselves.
Because they expect the 5th DLC fighter to be someone who appeals to the VGA audience, like Crash Bandicoot or Gordon Freeman.
Man, the VGA audience doesn't give a shit about Crash Bandicoot. If they did, that game would
I was about to say.
They kind of did by revealing the trailer for Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel last year.
Yeah, but I mean, Nintendo showed Cranky Kong at the VGAs. That don't mean shit, man. That don't mean nothing.
I mean, it did show Joker last year.
I mean, you know, look, man, you can't, listen, man, listen, you gotta learn.
They stole Kojima's thunder last year, if anything.
You gotta look through listen, you gotta ignore the propaganda and look through and see what's actually going on. And what's actually going on is that the VGAs is a popularity contest. And Jeff Keighley wants to be the,
ringleader?
No, he not ringleader. He wants to be the guy who gets in at the ground floor on turning video games into this ultra respected platform that is on par with Hollywood in terms of like the Oscars. Problem is that video games are not movies. They're two completely different mediums.
They're interactive medium, yeah.
it's an interactive medium. Like movies, you sit down and you watch a movie. And that's the joy of a movie. And here's the thing, a really good movie you can watch multiple times and get something new every time you watch it. Okay? Every time. Okay? Like, I mean, look at some of the best movies of all time. You can sit down and watch those movies, and every time you can see something different that you missed the previous time you watched it, or have a different thought, or get something slightly different out of it. Video games, they try to be a consistent product, okay? They aren't, because we get games that are broken as shit, but, I mean, it's a product. Just like movies are a product, but there are more movies that are made strictly for art purposes. You know, someone's trying to get a catharsis out of something, versus video games, which are strictly a commercial product. Okay?
And it's rare that we even see a game that goes that route.
What, a game that's just strictly just for catharsis, just for I'm an artiste type thing? Well, you do.
Yeah.
You get Hideo Kojima games, because apparently those games
I'd say it's rare.
those games did not make their budget back. That's why Konami fired his ass. They were like, we're tired of losing money on your fucking games, brah. And I didn't say bro, I said brah. Way to go.
Nice
brah.
line there.
Why do you keep on calling me brah? I don't like that. Don't call me brah. What if you say brah? But anyway, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm not impressed.
Your mileage may vary.
I'm just not impressed. I'm not impressed by this. I'm not impressed by I'm not impressed by these. I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. I know some people are gonna get mad. I don't give a shit. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with a lot of these. I'm not impressed. And I know
As I said, your mileage may vary, but if anything, I'm only impressed by how much of a loyalty it has.
I don't think it has that much of a loyalty. I think the VGAs are gonna have to step up their game, and they're gonna have to be more regimented, and there's gonna have to be more of a standardization for how they do things, because this, like, categories getting dropped, categories getting picked up. There's no standardization with these categories. There's no like either open up the voting to the fans, or just make it strictly
Committee vote. But don't do this hybridization bullshit. I was about to say, yeah, I feel that way because seriously, if 90% of the vote is by committee and 10% is by the people, that kind of shortchanges everyone, because if something wins by committee vote, then the audience is gonna feel gypped, and if it's won by people's vote, wouldn't that make the committee vote pointless?
Basically. I mean, like I said, I just have no respect for any of these people. I like I said, I don't give a shit about these games. I know some people are gonna get mad, because people always get mad when you say things that they don't like to hear, but I don't care, because I'm not here to, this is not my day job. So I'm gonna say what I want to say, goddammit. And what I want to say is, it sucks. The VGAs were trash, and that's it. That's all I gotta say.
I consider it a 3-ring circus.
No, because a circus might actually be fun. You might see something awesome. I didn't even watch the VGAs this year, and I knew it was going to be some bullshit. When I saw the categories, I was like, oh, this is going to be some bullshit. And it was. So, once again...
I wasted 3 hours of my life watching the entire VGA just for just for an announcement that never happened.
Yeah, man. Don't you feel mad that you lost 3? And here's the thing: everyone always says time is money. Bullshit. Time is more valuable than money because you can always make more money. But once your time is gone, it's gone forever. You know? Jeff Keighley owes you 3 hours of time.
I have a great laugh here on that because I expected nothing, and I still got less than what I expected.
Yeah.
And I only watched an hour and a half.
I didn't watch any of it. Let's see. What did I do? What did I do the VGAs? That was on a Thursday last
I was
week, right?
trying to,
That was
I was trying to
Thursday?
see. Yeah, if anything, I was just curious of how much of a mess it was. I mean, if anything, I was trying to see how much of a disaster it would be.
Let's see,
So
what did I do Thursday last? Oh, I know what I did. Let's see. I walked my dog. I played with my dog a little bit, and then let's see. I looked at my transaction statement for my business from the night before. Made some deals. Saw everything was going fine. So basically, I was making money, not watching that bullshit. And then I watched Christmas Vacation and laughed my ass off. So yeah, I was having fun. Not wasting my time on that shit. So it was great. So with that being said, anyone have any other topics they want to bring up before we wrap things up? Because I think we.
I want to mention that. You know that awful Cats movie that's coming up this week?
What movie?
Cats.
Oh, you mean the horror movie? That horrifying trailer
Its review embargo is out, and it has an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I can't say I'm surprised, because
I'm not surprised either.
It's very rare that you can take a play and convert it to the screen. It's very rare. And from what I've heard, Cats is not that good of a play. The reason people like that play is because of the dance numbers, the artistry of the artists, not because it's a particularly good Andrew Lloyd Webber play. So, it is what it is. Personally, the only play that I've seen put on the silver screen that actually did justice to what it was based off of was Fences, and that's just because you had I forgot her name, the black actress who can basically, like, she can cry on command and make her nose snot on command. It's amazing. I'm like, God damn, that is, lady, you are amazing.
a goddess.
She won an Oscar for it. Viola Davis. It's got Viola Davis. Viola Davis, that woman can snot on command. It's amazing.
That's some talent.
I mean, fuck, cry on command. She can snot on command. like any movie, watch any movie with Viola Davis in it, and if she has a crying scene, it is a work of beauty. Because I've seen actors who are great who cannot cry. Like Robert De Niro cannot cry at all. Like, if you watch Goodfellas, he can't cry. Like, he's a great actor, he cannot cry. This woman can cry on command. And the shit looks like, I'm like, God damn, someone help this woman. She needs help. That's the only film that was converted from a play where I was like, okay, that works. So that's it. That's all I got. So anyone else have here's the thing. I asked one of my employees if she was going to watch Star Wars. She said no. Let me see what else is coming out this week, because there might be something good coming out in December. Probably not, but you know, we can hope. December movies. So, the Aeronauts came out. Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker comes out this Friday. Jumanji: The Next Level.
Already seen it.
Jumanji. Spies in Disguise. I'm sorry. This is like, when did December become the place to dump shit?
I thought it was January.
It used to be January and February, but Bombshell, Black Christmas, Uncut Gems, Cats, Little Women. Really? We need another one of those fucking shitty ass movies? Okay. Playmobil the movie. Oh, that movie was bad. I didn't even watch it. I heard it was shit. 1917 comes out Christmas Day. I'm going to go watch that. I heard that's a good war movie. En Brazos de un Asesino. It's the assassin. A Hidden Life. It's about two lesbians. A Tale of the Princess Kaguya. So it's an anime. Cunningham, it's about some guy. Alfre Woodard is going to be in Clemency the 27th. That's a Friday. It's an Alfre Woodard movie. I might watch it. I like Alfre Woodard. They're re-releasing When Harry Met Sally. I might have to watch that just so I can see. Sally fake an orgasm in a restaurant.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, When Harry Met Sally is one of the few romantic movies that I can watch and enjoy, because it's a Rob Reiner. It's a comedy first and a romance second, but it actually works. Like, it's really good. I would advise anyone to watch it. It's Rob Reiner. You can't go wrong with Rob Reiner. I mean, he did The Princess Bride. It's a good movie. As you wish. Inconceivable. I don't think that word means what you think it means. That's right. You broke the other rule. You never go against a Sicilian when life or death is on the line. I am Inigo.
Need some water?
I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
What did I miss?
What?
What did I miss?
We were talking about movies that come out in December, and there's just a lot of shit here. Just a lot of shit.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, some of the worst movies. A lot of just not rememberable movies come out in December.
Well, I mean, there's been, okay. So here's what's come out thus far. The Aeronauts. That's the movie about people in flight balloons. Like the first flight balloon jockeys. I mean, yeah, it's on Amazon though. It's not. Okay, and then we got Star Wars is coming out this Friday, The Rise of Skywalker. Then we got Jumanji. The Next Level. I heard that movie's not very good. Then we got Spies and.
I can confirm.
What?
I can confirm that.
Yeah, well, from what I heard, it's like an unnecessary sequel. Like, instead of spending the time to actually make a good sequel, they just threw some shit together to make a cash grab. Which, I mean, considering it's a Sony picture, why am I surprised? It's Sony. That's what they do. Spies in Disguise. That movie comes out Christmas Day. It stars Will Smith as a spy who gets turned into a pigeon. It's an animated film. I know that's going to be some shit. I know the only reason they're putting this out on Christmas is because they want parents to take their kids out to the movies and watch this shit. And that's the only people who are going to watch that shit, too.
Gets turned into a pigeon? That just sounds lame.
Well, because pigeons are everywhere, man. I mean, no one would suspect a guy disguised as a pigeon. That's the premise of the movie. I shit you not. That's the premise of the movie. Then there's
Who-
Bombshell.
Who's paying these guys? Is Hollywood really paying these guys to make movies like this?
I think this is a Sony picture, so let me check. I
man.
think.
How far are you falling?
It's a Blue Skies picture.
Yeah, but isn't that owned? No, I'm sorry, it's 20th Century Fox. So Disney. Sorry. So then we get Bombshell, which came out Friday the 13th. Haven't heard of that movie, so it must be shit. Black Christmas.
It's supposed to be based on a true story regarding a scandal at Fox News.
Oh yeah. Those are the women who got fucked over by that fat whale, Roger, whatever his name is, the dude who built Fox News, that bullshit ass news station. Then we have Black Christmas, which is from A24, the same people who did Get Out and Halloween and that movie where the girl keeps on coming back to life on her birthday, Happy Death Day. Yeah, it's a horror movie, but it's PG-13, and how good can a horror movie be when it's rated PG-13? I don't,
I mean, you can still make good horror movies as PG-13 because a lot of the classic horror movies back then would have been PG-13 now.
Yeah, but the difference was that
they don't rely on blood and gore.
Yeah, but the difference back then was that those filmmakers used the limitations then in order to make a legitimately good movie. And they were more talented. Today, if there's a PG-13 horror movie, they're gonna just rely on fucking jump scares, and there's not gonna be any actual artistry to building the scene.
Or gore.
Well, here's the thing: if you can't have artistry, you can at least have someone get their head chopped off.
Yeah,
Okay.
but critics hate that, which is why they'll only just deduct those points.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're going with. I mean, it's a PG-13 horror movie. How scary can something be when it's PG-13? Plus, I'm a black man who lives in America, so I mean, shit. I mean, look, you want something scary from me? A cop stopping my ass. That's scary as fuck. Let's see what else. Let's see, Cats. Which, even though I'm calling it a horror movie, it's PG, but I'm calling it a horror movie just for how them shits look. I mean, they have the scariest thing in the trailer. They have Idris Elba as a cat in some raggedy ass clothes. He looks homeless. I'm like, God damn, Idris. You really, man, you got the man's sexiest thing, and you just got married and said, fuck it, you let yourself go, brother. That's not cool, man.
Even got Gandalf as a cat as well.
Yeah, that's just fucked up, man. Then they got Little Women. Every few years they make another one of those fucking movies based on that shitty ass, boring, dry ass book. Jane Austen.
Are you saying that for being a sexist?
No, I'm saying that as someone who read Little Women when I was in grade school, because it was like I had read all the other books on the reading list, and so you had to read something and write a book, a thing on it. Having read Little Women and seen numerous miniseries on BBC and movies about it, that is a boring, dry book.
I was about to say, how dry are we talking about? Desert dry?
It's so dry. Little Women is so dry that I would rather watch a technical how-to manual about how to clean your radiator than watch Little Women ever again, or read the book. I think Jane Austen is one of the most overrated female writers ever. They're like, oh, she was such a wonderful writer. I'm like, no. And I don't want anyone saying you're just doing that because she's a woman. No, some of my favorite writers are female writers, like Andre Norton, Judith Tarr, Ursula K. Le Guin, Mercedes Lackey. I like those writers. Patricia C. Reed. I like those writers. They write sci-fi and fantasy and romances and urban paranormal fantasy. I like those writers. It's just Jane Austen sucks as a writer. She's overrated as shit. And don't say, well, it's because she was a different age. No, I've read people who were around that same time who are better writers than she is. Okay? Hell, read anything from Alexander Dumas or the original Zorro novels that were written by Alexandra Vega, who was actually a woman. Much better writing than Jane Austen. She's fucking overrated. Okay? Over fucking rated. Ugh. Next, Playmobil the movie. That movie is a turd. Flush it.
I was about to say.
What is that?
Playmobil
This is
the movie.
that's trying to go by the
Yeah, it's trying to be the Lego
movie, isn't
but
it?
it's done so badly. It's done so very badly. It's not
Ironic that the mobile Playmobil has always been the poor man's version of Lego.
No, it's the rich man's version of Lego because it's more expensive than Lego. Like I went to my local Costco, okay, and they were selling like a classic like 200 brick Lego set with like 4 Lego men for like $39.99. Okay, then I went to my local toy store because I had to get some gifts for my nephews. Not my nephews, my cousin's kids, so my second cousins. So, although I consider them nephews because I'm like my cousins, like my sister, whatever. Anyway, so I'm picking up some stuff for them because they're not old enough to really have video games, but like I want to get them something interactive. So I was trying to see if I could get an erector set because this toy store actually still has erector sets, and I wanted them to actually learn about science and technology and shit like that. And erector sets are really good for that type of thing. So I go there and I'm looking through the thing, and like literally Playmobil is about 20 to 30% more expensive. And the reason it's 20 to 30% more expensive than Lego is because Playmobil is from Europe. It's imported. It's like, and here's the thing, Playmobil is shittier than Lego because Lego, you can break shit apart and build something else. It's your imagination is the limit of what you can build. Playmobil, the shit's already made. You got to do what they tell you to do. Oh, this has got to be a spaceman. I can take my spaceman and put him into my Batman, into the Batmobile. It's like, man, Batman shit got jacked by the spaceman. I could throw my turtles into that shit, and now the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are in Legoland. Who knew? No. Playmobil, you're just stuck using their shitty ass shit. But anyway, yeah, the movie came out. It bombed. It's the third lowest grossing film in history. So film has been around since the early 1900s. So basically 100 years of history. It's the third lowest grossing film in 100 years. That is fucking embarrassing. Because no one wanted that movie.
Yeah.
No one was asking for that movie. No one wanted a Playmobil movie. Just like
Who
no
wanted?
kid wants Playmobil. Like your parents give you Playmobil. You don't like no kid's asking for fucking Playmobil. Like seriously, kids want Legos. Kids want video games, Legos, dinosaurs, Army Men, Transformers, Power Rangers, TMNT, action figures, books, tech gifts. But I guarantee no kid, you look on their list of their Christmas wish list, will you find Playmobil on that list? I guarantee it. I promise you, son. Then we have 1917.
How is that?
Well, it's a war movie about World War One. Basically, it's almost one continuous shot. And from what I've heard from people who've reviewed it, the general premise of the film is that these two soldiers are being told to go to this to this other location and tell the platoon there that they're walking into a trap. But this is World War One, so they got to go through no man's land and trenches and just all types of fucked up shit in order to get there. and it's done in all one continuous shot. It's very atmospheric. I heard the movie's really good. I'm gonna go watch it just because. I mean, I want to see something like that. So.
How do you do a movie in one continuous shot? That sounds like a.
It's tough, but you can do it. That's how movies used to be made back in the day. One continuous shot. Start from point A, go to point B. Then there's En Brazos de un Asesino. So, the assassin.
What about Clint Eastwood's movie?
Oh, you mean Jewel 13? Jewel, whatever. I'm not promoting that fucking movie because fuck Clint Eastwood, piece of shit motherfucker. Anyway, then we have A Hidden Life. It's about two lesbians, in the 1800s. Then we have A Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is a Studio Ghibli film. Cunningham. Clemency with Alfred Woodard. Okay, I'm not gonna go over all these. There's some good movies coming out. There's some shit coming out. That's all you got.
I mean, Studio Ghibli film, so it can't be too bad.
Yeah, even the bad Studio Ghibli films are still pretty good. So, you know. Like Porco Rosso, not that good, but still better than a lot of other films, you know?
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So that being said, we've reached the end of the podcast. It's over 9 o'clock. So anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
I do want to point out one thing.
Okay.
Pikachu is among the team that won week 4 of a official Pokemon Sword and Shield tournament.
Okay. Anyone have anything else they want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Yeah.
Actually, I got a question. What are we gonna do for the first of 2020?
Well, what I thought we were gonna do. Kenoshi, you pimp your things out, and then I'm gonna tell what we're gonna do, what we're gonna try to do for the first cast of 2020.
Yeah, Hades is a pretty good game. It's more complete. It's an early access, but it feels more complete than a lot of games. Oh, Gold.
Okay, all right. So here's what I think we'll do for the first of 2020. I'm thinking we'll do a best games of the decade, worst games of the decade. So we'll have to pick 10 games that are the best games of the decade, worst games of the decade. 10 games. You guys got 2 weeks until New Year's to come up with your best and your worst games of the decade. That's what we're doing. Best and the worst. I'm not going to do the year because this year's been lackluster. Like, if no games came out in 2019, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm all right with it. So we'll do best. Well, I shouldn't say that because I like The Outer Worlds because that's a really good game. But aside from that and Astral Chain, I haven't really been like, oh my god, this has been a great year for games. I was about to say game for year, but that doesn't make sense. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. If you want to reach us, and you're a viewer and you want to reach us, you can reach us via Gmail at MrRedFoxBSBusters@gmail.com in order to leave topic suggestions, comments, concerns, all that type of fun stuff. Or at Twitter at Matthew Wesley at MrRedFox91. If you have a topic that you want to bring my attention to, you can @ me on Twitter at MrRedFox91, and I'll add that to the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe, and ding that bell icon so you know when we're going live. That being said, that's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. We do podcasts almost every week, bi-weekly, Wednesday and Saturday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock. We will not be doing a podcast next week or this Saturday because, it's the holidays. So the 21st nor the 25th, that's Christmas Day, we will not be having a podcast. We will not be back until... You guys want to come back that Saturday for New Year's? Before New Year's?
Iffy.
No? Okay, then we won't do it. Fuck it. So we will not be back. So we won't be here the 21st, the 25th, the 28th, or the 28th. We will be back New Year's Day, the 1st. That good for everyone?
Yeah.
That good for everybody?
That'll work.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay then. So we will be back New Year's Day. BS Busters will be back on a new year, new page, all that fun jazz with our best and worst video games of the decade. That means from 2010 to 2019, we'll be talking the best and worst games of the decade. That being said, that's in the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, good night, and
Hype responsibly.